Lots of stuff to get to today. First and foremost, Elon Musk reposting somebody who says that Tesla is headed towards a $20 trillion valuation. Elon writes, quote, extreme execution is needed, but a valuation of $20 trillion for Tesla is possible. And he ain't wrong. It's not guaranteed, but if Tesla successfully scales their Robotaxi business, that'll help. But what'll really knock it out of the park towards that multi-deca-trillion-dollar valuation are humanoid robots at massive scale. I've modeled this out in a bunch of scenarios. Just about everyone watching knows I've got a Tesla valuation model, which you can access on Patreon at TSLA and above. And in some of these scenarios, over the next decade, $20 trillion is within reach. But if you push that out further, if Tesla doesn't completely and utterly fuck up with humanoid robots, it does seem like it's only a matter of time. That said, extreme execution still will be required, but that's literally what Tesla has been doing for their entire existence as a company. So the question is, what if he's right? It's roughly a 20x from where we are today. Personally, I'd be satisfied with that type of a return from where we are today. Meanwhile, Tesla continue to swing around their big software capabilities. This time, Ashok Elaswamy, heading up Tesla AI, including the Autopilot/FSD team, posting this: full drive through London, UK. FSD supervised is pending regulatory approval. So let's see, we've recently seen videos of FSD supervised operating in Sydney, Australia, Amsterdam in the Netherlands, Paris in France, London, UK now as well. And I mean, there's probably others I haven't even mentioned. The overwhelming mountain of evidence that Tesla truly has developed a generalized solution to autonomy, stunningly somehow achieved with vision only, it's overwhelming at this point in time. Even if you're retarded and have spent the last 5 or 6 years saying that Tesla's approach is wrong, or they need LiDAR, or everyone's got to remain well ahead of Tesla because Tesla's late. At this point in time, like even if you're like 2 or 3 standard deviations below average intelligence, all you need to do is watch one of these videos end to end. Don't skip ahead, just literally watch the video, sit down and watch what the vehicle is doing while it's being supervised and no interventions are occurring. City after city, country after country, region after region, like that. And at that point in time, even a potato can go, oh, wow, it's working in this country with no interventions. It's working in this place with no interventions, and this place, and this place, and this place, and they've launched robotaxis in Austin and expanded their geofence. Wow, they might actually do it. Let's engage in a little exercise of imagination. Imagine right now if in the backseat of this vehicle in London, in the UK, there was a paying passenger, right? I know it's a crazy idea because that's what's happening in Austin right now. Now imagine, this is an even bigger stretch, that Tesla's confident enough in the future that the supervisor is no longer in the front because they haven't had to do shit the entire drive. No interventions whatsoever. In London, this is what I mean when I say the mountain of evidence piling up now. Tesla has solved autonomy. It is a generalized solution. They're going to scale rapidly and widely. It's just overwhelming. At this point, as I said, even a moron could figure it out. Now, this wasn't the easiest drive. Look what's going on if you guys weren't paying attention while I was rambling there. We've got a bunch of traffic cones here, some roadworks happening. The vehicle handled it like an absolute boss. More here handled it like an absolute boss. More here handled it like an absolute boss. More here, you get where this is going, right? This was not an easy drive. For starters, it's London. It's not just London, but London with a bunch of roadworks, lane closures, and other stuff going on as well. Zero interventions. Handled it like an absolute boss. Another example through this intersection. Somebody turned in, didn't get it all the way through. Handles it like an absolute boss. More roadworks. Handled like a boss. Yet again, not the easiest roads to traverse. Handled like a boss. So the question, folks, do you understand? Ed Ludlow of Doomberg asks, is Tesla launching Uber? Brett Winton, my new favourite over at ARC, he's so based lately. I love it, Brett. Keep it up. Straight up, spitting some facts, says, you misspelled killing. By the way, how good is it to see Brett just spitting facts? He's like the polar opposite of Cathy Wood, who's super, super reserved. I mean, she doesn't want to get herself in too much trouble, right? So she can't speak in too much hyperbole or just spit facts. But bro, he's nailed it. As I've said so eloquently in the past, Uber is fucked. Seems like Brett agrees. Now, just a quick detour. The first ever Tesla Cybertruck crash test footage has just been released from the IIHS. We already know that NHTSA gave the Cybertruck a 5-star rating, which also included scoring the lowest overall probability of injury and lowest chance of rollover ever for a pickup truck tested by NHTSA. Surprise, surprise. So I do recall my first Cybertruck is Engineering Genius video and then a follow-up, more details on the Cybertruck. One of the common hater comments were, it's good, it's not, how that's not going to be safe, there's no crumple zone. Of course, from a lot of people that, I mean, there's two parts to this. First of all, obviously don't have a great deal of understanding about just some simple physics, energy, mass, blah, blah, blah. And second of all, just don't think too many layers deep because think about it. Why would Tesla, who historically have produced the safest vehicles ever tested by miles, it's the number one safety priority, design a vehicle that's not possible to engineer to perform safely in the event of a collision? You want to keep your family safe? Make sure you drive a Tesla. I also saw a quote from Morgan Stanley, who apparently this week on Thursday said, quote, "We struggle to think of any other company as well positioned as Tesla in terms of," wait for it, "data, robotics, energy, AI, manufacturing, and supporting infrastructure." Now, I know this may come as a shock to those of you listening, but I too struggle to think of a company better positioned than Tesla in terms of data, robotics, energy, AI, manufacturing, and the supporting infrastructure. Hence, I continue to buy Tesla with every spare cent, and I'm still yet to find a better risk-adjusted opportunity out there. I guarantee they exist, I just can't find them. By the way, it's not that Morgan Stanley said we struggle to think of any company as well positioned as Tesla in terms of, and then just wrote one thing like data or robotics or energy or AI or manufacturing. No. It's a clean sweep of shit that matters. And speaking of things that matter, the official Tesla account posts, "Thanks for your engagement in this shareholder proposal process. We have received a number of shareholder proposals on XAI. Consistent with SEC rules, our proxy statement would include one properly submitted proposal on each topic, and we would invite the shareholder who made the first proper submission on this topic to attend our shareholder meeting in person." AKA Tesla shareholders are going to get the opportunity to vote on the idea of Tesla investing in XAI at long fucking last. Meanwhile, a propaganda outlet posted this, so it may not be true, but that said, Business Insider claims that Tesla tells staff, naughty leakers, it plans to roll out its Robotaxi service in San Francisco this weekend. Hang on a sec. Hang on. Let me just, I'm not very good at thinking and counting, but didn't exactly 1 month ago, wasn't that when Tesla first launched their Robotaxis in Austin? And then less than 3 weeks later, they expanded their service area, bigger, longer, harder, etc. And now, would that not mean then that literally 1 month after launching in Austin, if true, Tesla's now not only expanded once, but also started operating in another city, in another state? Surely not. Because that also would suggest Tesla has developed a generalized solution to autonomy and is going to scale rapidly and kill Uber. So here's the man in question who was asking earlier whether or not Tesla was launching Uber, now discussing this potential news that Tesla will be launching robotaxis in San Francisco literally this weekend.
I find this interesting. The specifics are that it's planned for maybe today, Friday. On the earnings call earlier in the week, which you participated in, Ashok Swami, who's the Robotaxi chief, said that they were doing this anyway, but there are some bits that we don't know. What was in the Business Insider report, and what do you make of it?
So the Business Insider report is based on a memo, an internal memo, within Tesla, promising a sort of robotaxi service, albeit one with a driver in the driver's seat. So I'm not sure if you can really call it a robot.
This is referencing Tesla's goal to expedite the regulatory approval process. So let's talk through this. You have this chicken and egg scenario. Can't really get approval, most places, to operate autonomous vehicles without a driver in them, at least without a driver in the driver's seat, before you can prove that you can operate autonomous vehicles safely without a driver in the driver's seat. So initially, the fastest way to start getting the data to prove to regulators that you can safely operate your autonomous vehicle without a driver in the driver's seat is to, wait for it, ready, operate vehicles with a driver in the driver's seat who doesn't do shit and just monitors and doesn't have to intervene. Then you collect the data and prove we can do it safely. Now the driver doesn't need to be in the driver's seat.
Robotaxi, if there is if it's a driverless car that does have a driver, but that what they're saying is that they're testing this. The other thing I'll say is California has a pretty robust permitting system for driverless cars. In fact, this has been around since like 2018. I believe the first company that had this permit was Zoox, but Waymo, Cruise, lots and lots of companies for years have been operating these services with permits, as anyone who lives in the Bay Area knows. Tesla does not have any of these permits yet. What they have is something called a TCP permit. This is basically a permit to operate a charter service with human drivers. So effectively like a black car service, a chauffeur service, whatever. And so my guess is that is how they're going to justify this, which is to say, it's not really an autonomous car as far as the law is concerned. Of course, Tesla has blurred the lines between like what constitutes an autonomous car for years and years.
We were just seeing the Tesla VP of AI software, what he said about the rollout of Robotaxi more broadly on the earnings call. And I'm really interested, ultimately here, Max, as to how you get to this vision that by, I think it's the second half of the year, half of Americans are meant to be able to access a robotaxi. But at the moment, there are about a handful in Austin and maybe a few with a driver at least a person at the driver's seat starting to do San Francisco.
I mean, look, Tesla doesn't really have a robotaxi service today. Like what it has is 11 or so cars in Austin that have a safety observer. And of course, we know that there, as I said before, there are other...
Man, I hope the skeptics don't throw their back out moving the goalposts again. Tesla doesn't really have a robotaxi service in Austin because their vehicles that are operating autonomously, picking up and dropping off passengers autonomously, who are paying passengers autonomously, being driven around autonomously in Tesla's autonomous vehicles, doesn't really have a robotaxi service yet because in the front passenger seat, out of abundance of caution, currently is a Tesla employee in the autonomous vehicles that are driving passengers from point A to point B, while a Tesla employee sits in the passenger seat doing literally nothing except watching, just in case.
Other companies that are operating actual robotaxi service. Waymo has something like 1,500 vehicles in 5 cities without drivers. I think it just all depends on how you define it. My guess is what they're going to say.
So just a quick thought or two on this whole definition thing. I understand what Max here is saying. If you want to be technical, certainly Waymo has driverless vehicles operating. Tesla technically does not, but that's more a liability thing than anything. It's Tesla's decision. But what matters is to actually watch, or better yet, take a ride on one of these things and see what it's capable of doing. You will note that the Tesla employees, the supervisors in Tesla's Austin robotaxis, are not reaching over the entire drive and steering the vehicle. Tesla's being super cautious initially. Instead, how successful are the Tesla vehicles at autonomously driving people from point A to point B? How many incidents are there? The trick is to focus on literally nothing but what is the software doing? What are its capabilities? Doesn't matter where somebody's sitting or not sitting, who's supervising or not supervising. Watch the actual software, FSD, do its job, and how well is it doing it? Everything else is noise and a distraction. By the way, that includes the absolutely ridiculous classifications of levels of autonomy, which are arbitrary and have nothing at all to do with the capability of the software, but instead who's liable for what. There's going to be this magical moment, maybe magical moment, when Tesla miraculously feels confident. They have so much data now that there's no need to have a supervising person in the passenger seat in Austin, Texas, and suddenly, bam, they're gone. Is that the moment that suddenly Tesla's now operating a robotaxi service with the same software, the same vehicles, doing the same thing, but now the person's no longer there? I know this is semantics, but call me crazy. I think Tesla is, in fact, currently operating robotaxis in Austin, Texas. They're robotaxis that, out of an abundance of caution, currently have somebody supervising in the passenger seat. That's very different from Tesla having somebody in the driver's seat. But as we know, this is going to be the fastest way for Tesla to get approval by providing data for a bunch of other cities, is to actually have somebody in the driver's seat initially where they need to, in order to collect the data, show how few / literally no interventions have occurred per mile, then drop a pile of data on a regulator's desk and say, listen, motherfuckers, we don't need somebody in the driver's seat. Thank you.
Is they have these testing vehicles. They have relatively wide ranges. Maybe you do some math and theoretically you can justify saying that half the population is covered. But I think by any normal person's definition, that just isn't going to be true. Just because technically we are not that close to that being possible.
Famous last words. We are actually extremely close to, quote, that being possible. Tesla already today has enough vehicles on roads in theory to service more than half the US population if they're confident in the capabilities of the software. And to the claim that we're not that close from a technical point of view, has this guy watched any of the drives in Austin end to end at all? How could you possibly make such an absurd statement? Thousands of intervention-free drives have now occurred in Austin robotaxis. They've already expanded their service area, less than 3 weeks in from launch to first expansion. Now rumours that we're going to be operating in San Francisco soon as well. How can you possibly suggest that they're not that close technically? The problem's damn near close to solved. And you can't argue they wouldn't have enough vehicles to service that many people because they're everywhere. Now, whether or not Tesla hits this goal, entirely different matter. But the idea that we're not close technically is just ridiculous. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.